Now it is with great honor that I introduce today's keynote speaker, Stephen Udvar-Házy. He is one of our own, an economics graduate of the class of 1968, and we are thrilled he has come back to campus to speak today. Steve is chairman and CEO of Air Lease Corporation, which he founded in February 2010. He brings more than 40 years of aviation industry experience to the company. In 1973, he co-founded the aircraft leasing business that became International Lease Finance Corporation, or ILFC. As chairman and CEO, Steve led ILFC from its inception till his retirement in 2010. Under his leadership, it became the worldwide market leader in the leasing and remarketing of advanced technology commercial jet aircraft to airlines around the globe, with a portfolio valued at more than $52 billion and consisting of more than 1,000 jet aircraft. Steve was born in Budapest, Hungary, and escaped with his family to Sweden in 1958. Shortly thereafter, his family arrived in the United States. In 1966, while an undergraduate student at UCLA, Steve formed Airline Systems Research Consultants, a firm specializing in airline routes, fleet, and planning analysis. I think he worked out of the trunk of his car. His first clients included Air New Zealand, which is where I'm from. In fact, he missed his graduation because he flew down to New Zealand to make his very first deal, a turboprop electric, and I think it was $50,000, not bad in the States. With a major in economics and a minor in international relations, Steve received a bachelor's degree from UCLA in 1968. That year, he also received his private pilot's license and continued graduate studies in transportation management and economics. He's been awarded several honorary doctorate degrees, including one from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Florida. In '77, Steve obtained FAA instrument, multi-engine, and commercial pilot ratings, and in 1978 he graduated from the American Airlines Training Academy in Fort Worth, Texas, as a certified jet pilot. In 1980, he studied airline management at Stanford's Business School. ILFC went public in '83 with $220 million in assets and $8 million in profit. In 1990, the company was acquired by AIG as a wholly owned subsidiary based in LA. During his leadership tenure, ILFC has generated a cumulative profit of $11 billion for AIG. Steve loves to be in the cockpit, piloting all sorts of aircraft, and has over 8,000 hours in jets. He's a director of SkyWest and currently serves as that board's lead independent director. He's been the recipient of numerous awards, including the Wings Club Distinguished Achievement Award, the Howard Hughes Memorial Award from the Aero Club of Southern California, the Wright Brothers Memorial Trophy from the Aero Club of Washington, the Living Legends of Aviation Award, the Air Force Vandenberg Award, and is an Officier de Légion d'Honneur awarded by the Republic of France. He's also a major donor to the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, who recognized his extraordinary generosity by naming the National Air and Space Museum's 760,000 square foot companion museum facility, the Udvar-Házy Center, in his honor. And if you haven't been to see that nearly Dallas, you really should go. It's stunning. He's involved in extensive philanthropic activities focused on education and providing opportunities for youth. His wife, Chris, is here today, and 3 of his children. Chris, like Steve, is a big Bruin fan. She received her BA from UCLA in sociology. In 1953, the last great air race was held. It was from London to my hometown, Christchurch, New Zealand. There, as a 7-year-old, I waited excitedly to see the outcome. Hearing and then seeing the first jet fighters to arrive in Christchurch, or any jet plane, was an overwhelming experience. Steve, as a youngster, also had a great love of planes. He then identified and developed a key niche in the jet airline industry. He's therefore been able to combine his love of planes and flying with a truly remarkable career. There is an important lesson to be learned. Spend your life doing things that you're passionate about, and you'll lead a fulfilling life. And now it gives me great pleasure to welcome the UCLA Economics Commencement speaker for the class of 2013, Steve Házy.
Thank you so much for that humbling introduction. It's a great honor to be here with you today. 45 years ago, this building didn't exist. We had much more modest surroundings. But the theme of the school and what you've achieved really hasn't changed. Ladies and gentlemen, deans, faculty, and importantly parents, distinguished graduates, it is a great pleasure to stand here with my alma mater before so many accomplished students and faculty. Today, we're here to honor you, the UCLA graduating class of 2013, and to pay special tribute to your fantastic and outstanding academic achievements. To the new graduates, I convey my congratulations on behalf of your faculty, your fellow students, your families, and loved ones. I know from my own experience how much hard work and effort you put into this day. It's been a journey that's crossed many, many long nights of studying, preparing papers, analyzing things, interacting with your fellow students. So I know it's not been an easy path to get to this point. It's hard for me to believe that I was sitting at the same university 45 years ago as a graduate of the economics department in 1968. Although our hair was a little longer and our pants were a little more flared, my graduating class had a lot in common with you. We were all equipped with a degree from a prestigious and well-respected university, motivated to get into the real world and make a difference. Unbeknownst to many, 1968 was the year of one of the most serious economic crises since the Great Depression, fueled by complex problems with balance of payments, the gold exchange standard, challenges in international monetary affairs. But in spite of that, we were accepting our diplomas during a time of severe economic instability and uncertainty. Today, you're coming off one of our country's most serious recessions, which began in 2007, and economic circumstances just as discouraging. But fortunately, the effects of this recession are slowly starting to turn around. And I hope my story of confidently defying the economic odds will inspire you, just as I was inspired in 1968. The call to action, which I will share with you today, is actually the same call that inspired me 45 years ago. However, the opportunities in 2013 have never been greater or more challenging than they are today. The word commencement, by definition, means the beginning or a start. And for you, today's commencement marks the start of a new chapter in your life, a new degree, hopefully a new job, new relationships, maybe even a new city to live in. You're about to close the undergraduate door behind you and excitedly and anxiously open the door that leads you to your next phase of life, an important phase, which will be full of opportunities, accomplishments, but also some disappointments. So get ready. It is within the context of commencement that I share my main piece of advice to you today, and that is to commence. Commence and start now. Decide on your path and commence that path to success. Please do not wait. Don't wait till the economy has fully recovered. Don't wait till you're married or until you've had years of work experience under your belt. The things that make up your future aspirations should and can be integrated into your present plans with a generous dose of self-confidence. And self-confidence along this path will be a very important ingredient all the way along. If you have specific aspirations, goals, dreams, or a unique purpose, Don't just assume that these aspirations will naturally come to fruition in the future. Accelerate your future to the present by taking action now. Start wherever you are, whatever phase of life you're at, start today, because this undergraduate degree is a tremendous asset. Distant fields always look greener, but silent opportunities lie right in front of your eyes. With all of the tools that you have been given during this excellent college education, you have the ability to become influential, successful, and self-assured sooner than later. Please undertake to commit now the legacy that you want to leave behind to our world, to your future spouse, to your children, your community, and your homeland. Start listening to your inner ear today. Be honest with yourself and take to heart the wisdom and advice of those around you. Figure out what motivates you. Hone in on the passions that align with your motivations and character. And don't just aspire to pursue these passions, but start to pursue them now. Anna Quindlen, a famous American author, said in her commencement speech at Villanova University many years ago, "You walk out of here this afternoon with only one thing no one else has. There'll be hundreds of people out there with your same degree. There'll be thousands of people doing what you want to do for a living. But you will be the only person alive that has sole custody of your life, your particular life, your entire life. You are in control." These may sound like repetitive graduation address cliches, but let me inject a dose of reality into June 15, 2013. When I was a naive 20-year-old undergraduate student at UCLA, I possessed a passion and an inner desire to start a regional commuter airline along the west coast of the United States. I thought about this a lot. I doodled a lot of notes during my classes. I didn't always listen to every word that my professors had to say, but I had this plan, I stuck to it, and I did it. That new airline was flying passengers within months of my graduation at the age of 22. In fact, I was the youngest chairman and CEO of a scheduled certified airline in the US. But remember this, in spite of the valuable macro and microeconomics courses, I grossly underestimated the forecasted expenses of running an airline and miscalculated my overly optimistic sales revenue projections, which failed to materialize. These losses incurred by this ambitious enterprise over a span of less than a year consumed my savings, lost all the money invested by my friends and relatives and our family members, and even led to a breakup with my girlfriend. The concept was great, but the market and the competitive realities resulted in a business that failed to reach break-even, and by today's standards ended in financial disappointment. This was a very important lesson at a young age. I quickly learned that failure is a necessary and valuable stepping stone to achieving success. You can't achieve success unless you can taste failure. And experiencing all of the dimensions of a business failure and the accompanying disappointments, in retrospect became a strategic blessing and another part of my valuable education, or let's just call it my postgraduate education. The tuition was far more than what I paid at UCLA. I realized that being the owner and the lessor of the airplanes that the airlines were flying was the right side to be on, rather than being the tenant and the operator of the airplanes. And this course correction at the age of 23 allowed me to invent and pioneer a new global industry, which today encompasses more than $300 billion of modern commercial aviation assets and is the most consistently profitable segment of the airline transportation industry. The lesson to take heart is, Start down a path that embraces your personal goals and passions, but do not shy away from what might appear to be a path full of challenges, obstacles, and difficult decisions. There are many, many paths in front of you, and often the ones that look the most appealing are the ones that are too safe and appear unobstructed. It is the tough and thorny problems that are the most valuable ones. But most people will refrain defensively from these potentially tumultuous experiences. Add to that fact that conditions in the world today are filled with uncertainty and danger. When we look at the landscape, the economics and political situation of our world and of the United States are increasingly unstable and unpredictable. In spite of these realities, I encourage each one of you to be different. Dare to be different. Look beyond the boundaries. Go outside your personal comfort zone. Tune out adversity and face your fears head on. And you will find yourself showered with rewards and growth. View those adversities along the way as part of that postgraduate education that I referred to. Just by way of example, my wife and I raised 4 young children, which meant watching plenty of Walt Disney movies over and over and over again in our home. One of those was Dumbo. Dumbo tells the story of a baby circus elephant who magically learns to fly. But there's an image in this film that illustrates how our own fears can terribly be real and terribly irrational. The moment when the 2-ton elephant is seized in horror, front legs up, trunks twisted, all because of a tiny mouse that crawls into their view. All of a sudden, these large mammals tower over the critter, yet the elephants have convinced themselves of their helplessness, making the mouse's presence completely crippling. Are there aspects of our own lives that are on hold because we have made a challenge or a next step bigger and scarier than it actually is? Do you have a mouse in your life? When I was just starting out as an entrepreneur, I can honestly tell you that the door was slammed in my face by more than 90% of the people I interacted with, whether they were bankers, prospective customers, suppliers, yet these setbacks strengthened me. From each rejection, I learned something that would become valuable later. I like to think of the analogy of water flowing downhill. When encountering a rock or an obstacle, the water finds its way around it and continues to flow. So one key priority is to start developing good habits and work ethics, as well as a strong determination not to accept the word no as the final answer. Be honest and transparent in all of your dealings and maintain the highest standards with your fellow work companions. Develop this habit now so that you don't have to worry about succumbing to future temptations, because ultimately we all have to live with ourselves. Dishonesty and secrecy only make life more challenging in the long run. Character and the highest integrity is essential, because in the final analysis, doing the right thing does matter in business and the professional world you're entering. A high level of integrity will earn you respect every step of the way. Clayton Christensen, a world-renowned Harvard Business School professor, stated, "It is easier to hold on to one's principles 100% of the time than just 98% of the time." I found this to be very true in my 40 years plus in the business world. Another important habit that you can begin to foster now, starting today as you graduate, is giving back. Giving back to your school, giving back to your community, giving back to your church, giving back to causes that you believe in and you're truly passionate about. Sir Winston Churchill once said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. The amount of time or monetary amount donated is not as important as the actual act and the habit is forming at this point of your life. Laura Arrillaga, a well-known Northern California philanthropist, said, "Giving is a universal opportunity. Regardless of your age, profession, religion, income bracket, and background, you have the capacity to give and create change. By acting on your dreams now, you will find that you'll be less likely to experience regrets in the future." In their scientific article, The Experience of Regret, psychologists Spilovich and Medved find that time is a key factor in what we regret. Over the short term, we tend to regret our actions. We do something that we're not very proud of. But over the long haul, we tend to regret our inactions. Over the course of an average week, their study indicated that action regrets outnumber inaction regrets 53% to 47%. But over the course of a lifetime, inaction regrets outnumber action regrets 84% to 16%. And I know all of you are statisticians, so you'll understand this. As you commit to your bright future ahead, please face tomorrow with a strong determination, optimism, faith, and hope, while recognizing that there will always be steps backward and human disappointments along the pathway of success. The best illustration of starting now is the story of my own parents, who were born in Budapest, Hungary in the early 1900s. After World War II and surviving the onslaught of the Nazis and Russian armies, my parents could have just accepted their fate and adapted to a depressive Soviet regime. Through no fault of their own, they wound up living in the wrong place at the wrong time. Simply stated, living in the oppressive era of Stalin-dominated Eastern Europe in the early 1950s was no picnic, and their future looked bleak and sad. But instead, my parents chose to envision a future of freedom and opportunity in the United States. They acted with urgency, knowing that their actions, which took place during a time of threatening risks, would give their family and future generations all of the liberties that they were lacking in our home country. These crucial life decisions required courage and determination and a willingness to take and face risks and unknowns head-on. You are a privileged group, the 2013 economics graduates of UCLA. As I look out at you today, I'm filled with hope, and I don't just see future leaders, instead I see present-day leaders. Your move is next. Our nation is at a crossroads today. There's an acute leadership vacuum in Washington. Our nation's adversaries are becoming more sophisticated, while our country is getting deeper and deeper into debt. Your generation will have the responsibility to shoulder a big part of that national debt, because our governments, whether at the federal, state, or local level, are spending beyond their means. Waste, duplication, inefficiencies, and corruption in federal, state, and local governments represents 20% of total expenditures. The American dream is at risk because the cost of entitlements and the redistribution of income, coupled with a broken and ever-rising tax system, is almost like a drug addiction that is not easily cured. Just as North America is tempted with the real possibility of total energy independence in the next 5 to 7 years, which would really be an earth-shattering opportunity for our continent, excessive government regulations, taxes, and bureaucratic red tape are creating strong headwinds to our strong progress in this area. Our nation is progressively eroding its leadership stature among both our allies, and we have less respect today from our enemies. Our foreign policies are disjointed and lack coherent long-term strategic vision. At times, it seems like our Congress and state legislatures are more interested in getting re-elected than addressing the urgent needs of our nation. We cannot, under any circumstance, allow America to slide into the same socialistic tendencies that have captivated Western Europe in the post-World War II era. What happened in Europe in this century is an important lesson for us and can easily be summarized by stagnant economic growth, lack of decisive leadership, a continent unable to militarily defend itself, and a continent that carries the highest tax burdens in the civilized world. These policies have stifled innovation, productivity, and living standards, while at the same time, the population growth of Europe has virtually stopped. Many countries, in fact, in Europe have declining populations. Aging demographics has resulted in a shrinking of the percentages of those that work, while the numbers of those living off state pensions has been rising. The result? No measurable GDP growth, coupled with fiscal paralysis and unsustainable economic policies. It is up to this graduating generation to amplify and safeguard your future and ours, and to execute on the vision of our forefathers who crafted the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitutions. Otherwise, the lesson of recent European history will go unlearned. Our national standing, our freedoms, our elite global status in the world are at risk unless each one of you makes a proactive commitment to improve our future so our children will have a better America than what we're experiencing today. Eric Roth, screenplay writer of Curious Case of Benjamin Button, wrote, what I think is, it's never too late, or in my case, too early, to be whoever you want to be. There's no time limit. Start anytime you want. Change or stay the same. These aren't the rules. We can make the best or worst of it. I sure hope you make the best of it. I hope you see things that startle you, feel things you've never felt before. I hope you meet people who have a different point of view. I hope you challenge yourself, and perhaps along the way you'll stumble, but I know you'll pick yourself up. I hope you lived the life you wanted to, and if you haven't, I hope you start it all over again. And now, on June 15th, 2013, I proclaim to all of you, today's that day that is not too late. Don't have any regrets years from now that you did not grasp the energy and ingenuity of your youth to make our world better. Let this UCLA experience be your launching pad for a better and brighter tomorrow. You can make that happen. I trust you, I believe in you, and I congratulate you. Thank you very much.